If you build a career exclusively on natural talent, you're building something highly fragile. The moment the environment applies real pressure, it shatters. We are taught to view professional survival as a kind of lottery. We assume the winners simply possessed the right genetic gifts or managed to execute one heroic burst of effort at exactly the right time. This creates the standard equation most people operate under. We calculate success as talent multiplied by hard work, with a final variable of luck thrown in for good measure. But when you expose this model to the friction of a long time horizon, it collapses. Highly capable, brilliant individuals frequently stall out in the middle of their careers, while seemingly average peers quietly accumulate outsized results. If raw capability isn't the primary driver of compounding returns, we are using the wrong mathematical model to evaluate human potential. To find a more accurate model, we have to look at success not as an inherent trait, but as an emergent property of two highly specific, controllable inputs. The first is the frequency of your output, a metric commonly known as consistency. The second is information integrity. You likely know this as honesty. By combining these two variables, we can map a functional framework for professional optimization. System yield becomes a strict mathematical function of your information integrity and your output frequency. We are stripping away the moral philosophy here. We are discarding the motivational self-help rhetoric. This is strictly an optimization problem. Operating truthfully and acting consistently are structural imperatives. Over a long enough timeline, these two mechanical habits mathematically outperform raw talent. Let's look at the first variable by observing a theoretical operator, Person A. Their professional strategy relies entirely on their natural talent, fueled by bursts of motivation. Motivation is inherently tied to your emotional state. Because human emotions are highly volatile, relying on them creates a severe stop-start cycle of production. This chart plots output over a 30-day timeframe. Person A's data registers as steep spikes that drop to zero. Look closely at the empty spaces. These are motivation deficits. During these dead zones, all forward momentum halts. When the operator finally decides to work again, they have to burn massive energy just to overcome inertia and restart the process. This strategy comes with an enormous complexity budget. Waiting to feel ready creates severe cognitive friction every single time an action must be initiated. The marketplace does not care about your internal emotional readiness. It requires predictable, reliable output. Any system reliant on emotional motivation is mathematically fragile. It cannot sustain the continuous rhythm required to compound over time. Now we introduce Person B, an operator who optimizes for consistency. They remove emotional readiness from the equation entirely. In mechanical terms, consistency is a low-amplitude, continuous force. It bypasses the need for motivation by relying on automated discipline. You execute the task regardless of how you feel. Returning to our graph, Person B registers as a steady, continuous block of effort. It never drops to zero. Calculating the integral, the total area massively eclipses the isolated spikes of Person A. The total accrued volume of effort is the only metric the marketplace actually rewards. A single blow against a stone does nothing, but a continuous drip of water eventually breaks it, carving a deep groove directly into the surface. Consistency provides a compounding baseline. It ensures an accrual of skill that eventually overtakes the sporadic output of static talent. But output alone is insufficient. Professional yield requires an optimal environment. You must operate within a network. This means interacting with other people. We return to Person A. To accelerate their progress, they use deception, shortcuts, or fake personas to quickly extract value from this network. This map shows the short-term illusion of success. Person A sits at the center, rapidly generating tentative connections to surrounding nodes based on false information. Maintaining multiple false realities requires immense cognitive overhead. The mental load spikes into the red. Eventually, the truth is exposed, connections snap, and the central node is completely isolated. When trust breaks, the reputation is destroyed. Rebuilding it is incredibly difficult and often impossible. Once a node is flagged as deceptive, the broader network actively routes future opportunities away from it to protect the overall system. Dishonesty provides a short-term local maximum, but it introduces fatal systemic risk that ultimately collapses the operator. Person B takes a different approach. Stripping away the moral lens, we can analyze their honesty strictly as a survival strategy. Operating truthfully functions with minimal cognitive friction. You do not need to remember lies or act out a persona, which frees up your mental bandwidth for actual execution. As person B interacts with the network, their cognitive load remains low and stable. Telling the truth proves reliability, forming deep, solid connections. As a high-trust node, the network's behavior shifts. A continuous inbound flow of resources, opportunities, and support travels back through those trusted pipelines directly to the operator. This network support acts as a massive force multiplier. It generates a rate of growth that an isolated, highly talented individual could never achieve on their own. Honesty is a powerful structural mechanism. It guarantees network stability and engineers a continuous, compounding inbound flow of essential resources. When we synthesize these two variables, it becomes clear why natural talent is largely irrelevant in the grand calculus of success. Talent is merely a static multiplier. If you apply it sporadically or pair it with deception, its lifetime yield rapidly approaches zero. These visuals represent our two validated models, the compounding curve of consistency on the left and the stable network topology of honesty on the right. By combining them, we establish a dual-engine model for professional yield. The mechanics are straightforward. Honesty builds an unbreakable, frictionless environment, the track. Consistency provides the relentless forward velocity, the engine moving along it. When these two variables operate in tandem, the resulting output becomes a mathematical certainty, not a gamble. Long-term success is not a genetic lottery. It is not a byproduct of luck. Rather, it is the predictable, almost boring outcome of choosing the most optimal strategic inputs, day after day, without fail. Look at your own professional systems. Audit your baseline mechanics. Ask yourself, are you optimizing for short-term spikes of talent, or are you building for long-term structural reliability? Relying on raw motivation and clever shortcuts might win the day, but it will inevitably lose the decade. The highest performers in any field don't aim to be the most talented. They build systems that make their success inevitable.